This isn't going to be fun to watch. It's not really going to be enjoyable. You're used to a certain quality of YouTube video now, from the camera quality to the audio quality to the content, and I'm going to do everything I can to not meet those expectations. But if you can get through it, you might find some of the content interesting. My name is Marcus Welsh and I use books, articles, websites and your emails to investigate, discuss and go on adventures. Do me a favour, like this video and subscribe. Here's a quick test. A series of numbers will flash up. I want you to add them up. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. A spoon is a utensil consisting of a small shallow bowl known as a head, oval or round, at the end of a handle. A type of cutlery, sometimes called flatware in the United States of America, especially as part of a place setting, is used primarily for transferring food to the mouth. Spoons are usually used in preparation of food to measure, mix, stir and toss ingredients and for serving the food. Present-day spoons are made from metal, notably flat silver or silverware, plated or solid, wood, porcelain or plastic. There are a wide variety of spoons that are made of a variety of materials and by different cultures for many different uses and foods. So how do you do? Think you've got an answer? Well, the answer is... And now here are some horses, so enjoy. Enjoy these horses. Are you confused? Was that opening sequence hard to watch? Yeah, well there's a reason. What I have done here is broken some of the crucial rules of YouTube. Rule 1. A good thumbnail that makes you click through with interest without being clickbaity. All you can see is a bad photo of me with a bit of text you can barely read against a dull background. Compare it to my other thumbnails. It won't stand out and my click-through rate and impressions will suffer as a result. But you know, it's all in the name of science. Rule 2. Hook the audience in within seconds. So this video all came about because I read an article on time. You now have a shorter attention span than a goldfish. I will come back to attention spans later on, but just know a goldfish has a span of 9 seconds and humans now 8 seconds. So that's the reason for the 8 seconds of me doing nothing at the start of the video. Do you want to see it again, just to remind yourselves? No. But how did you feel while I was doing nothing? Did you want to grab for your phone? Were you feeling distracted? Feeling nervous that nothing was happening? Did you even, and be honest, fast forward? Rule 3 and 4. Good quality camera and good quality audio. In those first shots you saw, I was using this. A battery powered piece of crud, broken actually, from the early to mid noughties. And this, at the very beginning of YouTube, was the kind of thing that people use, whether it be videos of ugly kids biting another's finger or a panda sneezing. But now to be a business, I guess, a YouTuber, you need a good setup and right from the beginning. Sit in your room with an old camera and no good audio recorder and people will switch off right away. And that's pretty sad really, because sometimes it's these people with the most interesting things to say.
Only Scotties give you tissues that float up gently, one at a time, and come out in neat handfuls too, because there's a magic oval inside every new Scotties box. Only Scotties Magic Oval can give you tissues that float up, smooth and easy.
Rule 5. An advert at the wrong time. I've read conflicting things about when the best place for an advert is within a video. The general consensus is either at the beginning, get it out the way, or at the end, when people have already switched off. The very worst time though is where I put it. My average watch time is 4 minutes and 43 seconds, which means that just as I'm building to my ridiculous conclusions in my stories, people are already switching off. Now, granted, some of that average watch time is reduced because of the length of the minis, but it should probably be more around 8 to 10 minutes.
ideally for me anyway. So putting that advert in at 4 minutes and 30 seconds is probably the worst thing I can do. 13 seconds before the average viewer will switch off, making it more likely they're going to reach for that X in the top left-hand corner. Yep.
But why is my average watch time 4 minutes and 43 seconds? Well, in conclusion, it's not my fault. My videos are amazingly fantastic. It's all of yous and your attention spans. You're a goldfish, you're a goldfish, you're a goldfish, you're a goldfish. So what's the reason we're all so distracted now and have goldfish brains? Well, there's no real big mystery here, is there? Before the age of the internet, let's take a look at Times Square, Piccadilly Circus. It's full of adverts trying to get your attention, just like a supermarket shelf with the brands wanting you to pick their product. All different colours, logos, fonts, wrapping.
The difference was you could walk away back then, back to your 4 channels on TV and your books and your Game Boy and playing outside with your pals. You just had to look outside, see if they were out, go and knock for them, or if they lived further away, use the red telephone box and give them a call, or your house phone. In fact, if your mate goes on holiday, that's it for 2 weeks. You won't hear nothing from them. They're having a good time and you're having to deal with your hometown on your own, or with your lesser mates, you know the ones you don't really want to hang around with, but you do because you're mates with them, and then it's just, it'd be awkward otherwise. Anyway, they come back 2 weeks later with a horrible red tan and braided hair, and you fill each other in on the details of the last 2 weeks and catch up again.
Now you've got Times Square in your pocket. Your watch, your TV, your phone, your stopometer. What? Your pager, your Tamagotchi, your fax machine. Isn't it a wonder we can even concentrate for 8 seconds? I'm not here to argue the merits of whether this tech boom is positive or not. It's too layered, and really, we're only at the very early stages. If this was a science experiment, we are phase 1. My generation grew up without this tech, and then with it. From no internet to dial-up to everywhere, all of the time, within a very short period of our lives.
Researchers in Canada surveyed 2,000 participants and studied the brain activity of 112 others using electro and EEGs. One sec. You distracting me. Since the year 2000, or about when the mobile phone revolution begun, the average attention span dropped from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. Heavy multi-screen users find it difficult to filter out the irrelevant stimuli. They're more easily distracted by multiple streams of media, the report read. But the good news maybe is that now we can multitask very well. So, right, I'm at a really, really tricky bit. So would you just give me a minute?
So when you have the whole world in your pocket, all the great films, TV shows, all the music ever, what does that actually do to choice? You've been there, right? Flicking through the film options, seeing all these classics you've heard about. The must-watch thing your friends bang on about all the time. The latest award winners, the latest piece of crap from The Rock. Scrolling and scrolling, so many platforms, so many choices. And then, how many times out of 10 do you just watch something you've seen before? An old episode of one of your favourite sitcoms?
For me, maybe 7 times out of 10. When we're presented with a seemingly infinite amount of options, the brain won't know how to filter out the data, and it just goes into overload. And your brain is using adaptive learning in the background, which means it's going to call back to the last time you felt frustrated by choice. And it's going to use this frustration now to reinforce its case that the more information you have, the more you should give up and then just stick on that old sitcom you watch over and over, that comfort show that we all have.
In Neil Postman's 1985 book, Amusing Ourselves to Death, he proposed the information-action ratio. An example of this is the invention of long-distance communication, i.e. phones. Before, people would receive telegrams or Morse code, or a messenger on horseback. The messages, therefore, had to be to the point and relevant to the situation and our lives.
Therefore, people could process and contextualize that information They are able to act on it with laser focus because it's the only thing taking their attention. Once long distance communication was invented, all the world's woes were there in newspapers, on your device, on the news, on your wireless, as part of your conversation around the family dinner table. And there it is, the world's worst events as a notification. For some people, hate in the inbox daily, as often or more often than a nice message.
The most famous example of this is the jam experiment. And I say most famous, I have no idea really, it's just I've heard of it. A study by Lydia and Lepper found the following jammy situation. A grocery store conducted 2 tasting sessions. In one session, shoppers were allowed to sample 24 flavours of jam, and in the other session, they were allowed to sample 6 flavours. Here are the figures. 24 choices of jam attracted 60% of shoppers. 6 choices of jam attracted 40% of shoppers. So more choice, more people. 24 choices of jam, shoppers sampled 2 flavours on average. 6 choices of jam, shoppers sampled 2 flavours on average. More choices, same amount of samples. In 24 choices of jam, 3% of shoppers brought jam. In 6 choices of jam, 30% of shoppers brought jam. Jam. If we take information as choice, it easily works in the original example with film choices.
So back then you'd either have to watch whatever films on BBC Two that day or drive to Blockbuster. Now even that action wasn't overwhelming. You'd go there with a fair idea of what you wanted to watch. You'd buy your pick and mix and your popcorn and whatever. There wasn't too much choice, there was a good amount of choice, but you could always just read the back of the VHS. But chances are you knew what you wanted when you went that day. It's that film that's finally come out that you never saw in the cinema, because who goes to cinema? Because it's full of kids. Sorry. In fact, I'd even say going to the rental shop was part of the fun itself, part of the experience.
Today, we don't have to drive anywhere. We don't have to leave our sofa. So the action is different. The action is just in making the choice, which feels like it should be easier. But the issue is the information is at overload. What streaming platform? Oh, look, there's a new one. A new one, just now. Let's sign up for a free trial and then forget to cancel it. Okay, what genre? They're sorted by genre, but also actor, director. Oh, and by year, and by classics. What makes a classic anyway? Hey, why is this Tom Cruise film in classic? That's weird. Oh, look, they have the rating by it. IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes. Who says anyway? What is this, audience or critic score? Why has this film got less than that? Oh, look, you can watch a trailer. Let's do that. That didn't help. In fact, I was up for that, but maybe not now. It traded at rubbish. Oh, by the way, Bev from work told me that new film with that what's his name in is good. How about that? Yeah, true. Bev did like Yesterday, the world's worst ever film. Okay, let's check the reviews online. Metacritic, 57 critic reviews and 6,391 audience reviews. Can't trust the critics really. And people on the internet, well, they're the worst kind of people. So how about we just watch an old episode of this?
How about some lovely filling lettuce?
I don't expect people to read the description box, all the blurb and all that, but I know I do on certain videos. The kind of videos I know were made with a lot of care and a lot of hours were put into them. I don't know why either. I can speculate, and I think it might be because I come from a time where we'd buy a CD, and the CD wasn't just music. It wasn't throwing it on the radio and listening. The CD itself, the packaging, the case, and the sleeve was part of the experience. Sleeve? Oh, the booklet. The booklet. We'd stick the CD in our 5 CD changer, sit on our inflatable chair and read along to the lyrics, read all the producers and the people we've never heard of, but for some reason we did. Look at the terrible promo shots as well, you know, it's all part of the product. And because I come from that place, I think it's why I like to make everything a full experience, from the crap I put in the description box right through to the discussion I like to have with all of you after.
In my first proper video, Searching for Limbo in Reality, I put this comment in the description box. As of this very second, 19,492 people have watched it, and I've had 86 responses by email. That's 0.44%. Is this because most people only watched around 4 to 7 minutes? Is it because the description box is usually just a load of waffle and adverts? If 8 seconds is the average attention span, did I actually expect more people to look there as they were bored and trying to find something to do? Does it even mean much? No, not really. But I guess my question to those who responded is why? Are you like me and like to have a full experience when you approach and consume a product? Were you expecting some cool experiment? Well, very sorry, that's a huge disappointment. But as I say, it's really hard to know what I'm investigating, let alone how to quantify it.
But I'm not going to cop out here, I'm not going to sit on the fence. You win, and I'm throwing a party and only you are invited.
You know, I'd be surprised if that 8 seconds now is actually 6 to 7, as part of day-to-day attention is human interaction.
And all that's gone out the window, isn't it? Thanks to COVID-19.
So how do we get better at giving our full attention? Firstly, how did you do in the spoon number test? The answer was, of course, 106. Or if you got that wrong but learnt about spoons, well then I say even better. A+ to you.
So this is how you do it, apparently. Remove distractions. Put your phones away when watching TV, or put your TV away when you're watching your phone. Attentive listening. What? Listen with your whole body. Don't move around. Focus on the subject matter. Stop thinking about what are you going to say next or how you should interject. Just take it all in. But don't look too weird when doing it, is my advice. That's something I've added on here. Walking, no headphones in. Listen to the birds. Say hi to the people walking past unless they look too miserable. Avoid those ones. Read more, obvious, and meditate. Fucking meditate. The ultimate answer to any question you put in Google, for example, how do I meditate? How do I feel better about this? Meditate. How do I improve my attention span? Meditate. How do I make a bean casserole? Meditate. Meditate. And the reason I'm so frustrated with meditation is because I can't do it. I know it would be good for me. I know it would be so beneficial, but I just sit there and this happens. I'll show you now. I'm going to meditate here for you, and you can hear my brain because that's magic. Ah. Hello? Hello? Start again.
What are you doing? No, seriously, what are you doing? Hello? What is this? Okay, calm down. Pop that fork onto a leaf and let it go down the stream. Okay, yes, that's a funny clip. But now, imagine that fork is a cloud and it's escaping. Attention back on the breath. Let your thoughts go. Let this one go, dickhead. Every decision you've ever made is wrong. And in year 1 at school, you wet yourself. And everyone still laughs at you to this day.
Well, and to that I say good. At least they're still talking about me. But what the hell is that? What is that inner voice? What is the inner monologue?
The mind really wants to automate everything. To store it, to use less brain power for each task in the future. When was the last time you had to remember how to brush your your teeth, as a step-by-step process? It's now a fully automated system, but day to day, we don't have enough of these automated tasks, so we need to access function. And we do that with communication. Our communication, the language that's ingrained and learnt, and different animals will use their communication to access process. Dogs with noses, for example.
And then as you build up a relationship with your brain, that communication becomes somewhat more friendly, but then on the flippy side of that coin, it can be very rude. I know for one, I can collapse into a pattern of negative thinking quite easy, and actually that can become a habit for me. But at least we all do have that inner monologue, right? Well, actually no. A subscriber of mine, who I thank so much for talking to me, giving me this information and letting me use it on this video, explained to me exactly what not having that inner voice, that inner monologue is like.
From many discussions with my friends who do have the internal monologue, it seems as though they like to practice conversations, or even run through scenarios of potential conflicts. They can also reflect on conversations and imagine what they would have said. Now, I can do that, but it's never with a voice. It's more emotions and images of the actual scene playing out. I envy being able to practice conversations. If I want to do that, I have to be alone, because I end up either mouthing the sentence or saying it out loud. I consider myself a reflective person, but not internally. It'll only happen when I have a real-life conversation. I also felt extremely lonely when I knew I didn't have an internal monologue. What others describe is almost like you always have someone there to bounce ideas off. I just imagine things, and then I think, yeah, I guess that looks like an option. However, there's a lot of good. I consider myself creative, and am able to imagine very abstract things. For example, I could imagine my entire house and where I would move things to if I wanted. No conversation involved, just a very clear image. I think it's also led me to become very intuitive. I am able to notice things about others as I focus less on the words and more on what I see or feel. I love explaining things in imagery and metaphor, which I've noticed others can struggle with. It's almost like a sixth sense. Feels a bit like our endless, sometimes brainless, distracting conversations with ourselves, with our internal mind, whatever it is. Feels a bit like it can hold us back sometimes. Too much sense of self overwhelms the ego, so maybe we should try learning to quieten the voice down a bit, and maybe that does start with paying more attention. Well, that's my conclusion anyway. Not that anyone's here to see it. It's just me alone talking into the void. I can say anything I want. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to rewind the tape before you take it back.